What's going on, YouTube family? Today we're going to be talking about why so many mechanics are leaving the automotive industry. Now, this is one of the most asked questions I get all the time. Why is it so hard to find mechanics, a good mechanic? It's something that we've been dealing with for over a decade. There's been a massive shortage of technicians, and on top of that, so many people that are currently in the industry are leaving. Now, there's a lot of videos out there. I'm going to kind of do my best to break down the reasons why they're actually leaving. We're going to go over pay, structure, what it takes to be a technician, and all the things that have to do with the climate and the customers. I think you're going to be shocked at some of the answers you're going to hear. So make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video because I'm going to be dropping all kinds of truth bombs. But I think this is something that most mechanics will totally agree about. So if you're a technician watching this video, make sure you chime in the comment section. Let's go. Now, first, we're going to talk about pay. Now, this is something that is very controversial with technicians and business owners. Some technicians get paid hourly just like regular people. Other people do what's called flag rate. So if the book says it takes 2.5 hours to switch out some brake pads and you do it in 30 minutes, the technician still gets it the full book time, 2.5 hours. But is this a good thing or a bad thing? And here's the problem. I see it as a good thing because a good quality technician that makes sure he does the job right can knock it out in maybe 45 minutes to an hour and keep all that extra money. But the downfall is if you're not a great technician or you're a little bit slower, it forces you to rush yourself to try to save some book time, and then you wind up making mistakes. And these are some of the problems that come with the pay. Now, also flag rate seems to be shrinking every single year. So back in the day, you used to get maybe an hour for diagnosis, 2 or 3 hours for maybe whatever repair. But nowadays you're supposed to diagnose it and fix it with the same flag rate. So they're basically peeling back hours. And on top of that, the way flag rate was basically equaled out was it was supposed to be an average tech with average hand tools, and this is what it would take. So if you were a professional that had years of experience and tons of fancy tools, you should knock it out quickly. But today, I don't know who they're using, the fastest techs with the best tools, because now I've had some jobs where it told me it took 3 hours to change a radiator core, but it took me literally 6 hours to take the dash out, remove the radiator core, and put it back in. Now, I don't know how they did it in 3, if they Mickey Mouse it, took out the windshield, whatever the magic secret was, but we were not close. So there's a lot of discrepancies when it comes to book hours. On top of that, like I said, it does make the mechanic make mistakes because they're trying to rush to make as many hours as they can. So how does this bite technicians in the butt? Well, as a flag rate tech, you are actually under warranty. So every time something happens to a car, it comes back under warranty. So if I do your brakes or I do your transmission or whatever it is, and there's a leak, there's a squeak, there's something wrong with your car, I have to go look at that car and it comes out of my time. Now, here's the even worse part. So I could spend my time diagnosing the car, fix it again twice for the second time for free. But what if I'm on vacation like I am today? I'm in San Diego. I'm not there at the shop, so they have to give it to the other technician. So the other technician will fix it and bill his hours to me, and now that comes out of my check. So the first time I did it is basically just paying the second guy to redo it. Now, there are mistakes, things happen. I've dealt with this years before where I've replaced a radiator and all of a sudden the radiator hose went, clip went, whatever the case may be, and I've lost tons of hours. So this is why a lot of techs are getting very frustrated with offering warranties. Now a lot of techs don't like warranty work, but as a shop, we have to guarantee our work because most people will not come back to us. So it's very important that we do this and we offer this to our clients, so this way we could build up a good chunk of clients. Now, traditionally, the way techs were paid was usually anywhere from 25 to 45 bucks an hour, and the shop was making somewhere around, $100 to $125 an hour. But there are a lot of franchise stores that are making over $250 an hour. Does that mean that their technicians are making more money? No. They're still priced at $25 to $45 an hour, most of them under $35 an hour, which kind of sucks. So even if you become a specialist and you go to all the factory training and you are the best tech at your dealership, a lot of times they will cap you out. They don't want to pay you, which is kind of funny. And then on top of that, if you do like warranty work for dealerships, which most manufacturers do, you get paid even less for that. Or if there's like an aftermarket warranty where they give you a discounted rate, like if your normal shop rate is $200, but they pay you $120 because it's a warranty from like PWI, they'll literally go to the tech and say, hey, we can't pay you the same amount. You have to do this the same work for less money. And that's some of the issues we're getting with pay. And this is one of the reasons why so many techs are leaving the industry. Another reason why is, what does it take to become a technician? Now, back in the day, it was a little bit of mechanical aptitude, a few classes, and then you're off to the running. You can make some good money, work on some cars, and it was a fun job. But today, you're talking about, $50,000 to $100,000 for school to learn how to be a tech, because nobody wants to do apprenticeship anymore. And once you get that, you take your test, you get your ASC certifications, all that crap, you still don't even know how to work on cars. So as you start working on cars, what do you need? You need tools. And this is the big con that I think is really hurting a lot of technicians. When I first started, all my stuff was obviously from Snap-on, Cornwell, Macco, Mack trucks. Like, we were spending all this money on professional grade tools because this is what we were taught. If you're doing this as a professional, you want to have the best tools available, something that's under warranty, that if it breaks, you can just hand it back to the guy and get a new one back. So I think my first big box was about $15,000. This is back in 2000, so equivalent to like $25,000 today. I thought I was so cool, and I bought it used. This was a Maximizer box. I'll show a picture somewhere over here. This toolbox was massive. The guy before me paid $35,000 for it, and he winded up, I think he's paying $500 a week to our tool guy. Couldn't afford it anymore, and so I took over his payments and just got the toolbox. And so I paid it off. I had it for years. I ended up selling it. But a lot of technicians are forced into this. Oh, you got to have these great tools. You got to have this premium name brand stuff. Absolute BS. I feel like you were literally pushed into getting yourself into debt. We're talking over $100,000 to fill up one of these brand name toolboxes with all their tools. Now, currently today, I work with all Icon tools, which is from Harbor Freight. I paid a few bucks. I think I'm all in maybe $5,000 for every single Icon tool with a toolbox, that I possibly need. I've built multiple SEMA cars with this. I work on my current cars with the same tools. You don't need to spend all this crazy money on all this expensive tools, but this is what you're taught. And then, believe it or not, some dealerships and some franchise owners will not hire you as a technician if they saw you had a Husky toolbox or a Craftsman or something like that. They thought that you weren't a serious tech unless you had a Snap-on, Cornwell or Matco or Mack box, which was absolutely stupid. So, these are some of the things that are pushing young techs out of the industry, because, if you're making, let's say, $10 an hour as a lube tech and you're trying to build up your toolbox, how are you supposed to do that, pay your wages, and still pay the tool guy, $200 to $500 a week to buy tools from him? You can't afford it. And so that's why a lot of techs are not getting to that second level. They're making a few bucks, and they're basically just burning out and walking away. And so that's why there's such a big discrepancies between old techs and new techs. So another reason why so many technicians are leaving the automotive industry and so many new young guys are not jumping in is the negative stigma that's around being a mechanic. Now, years ago, if you were a mechanic, you were a professional, you were a technician, you were respected. Today, everybody thinks mechanics are liars or scumbags or trying to rip you off. For years, that's why, I'll be honest with you, I stopped working on customers' cars, because there's nothing worse than, like, if you go to the doctor and the doctor says, hey, you know what, you fell off a tree, I think you broke your leg, and then you tell them, yeah, your leg's broken. You don't go to the doctor, you're lying to me, you're trying to rip me off, you're trying to get extra money out of me, and then you walk out of there with a broken leg. But for some reason, it's okay to do to a mechanic. If you go to the plumber and the plumber's like, hey, look, your pipe's broken, we need to replace it, we got to fix it, okay, whatever. AC technician, we got to add Freon to your system, okay. But when an automotive technician says, hey, you know what, your car's overheating because your radiator's cracked and I think you possibly have a head gasket blown. No, don't lie to me, you're just trying to sell me something. Okay, well, fine, sign this piece of paper here saying I'm just going to replace your radiator, and if it blows a hose later, it's probably because you have a bad head gasket. They sign it, let the customer go. A day later, they come back, oh, it's puked out all the water. It's because you have a blown head gasket. You wouldn't let me check it. And so these are some of the things that why a lot of technicians don't want to deal with it, because even after going through fixing a car, customers will actually come up to you and say you screwed them over or you charged too much. And I've had customers that would literally would call me crying, I'm on the side of the road, please help me. I go out of my way, I give them a free tow, I fix their car, and all of a sudden they become some sort of internet wizard, like, hey, I got online, I read on Reddit that this repair should cost $50. It only takes 30 minutes. Why are you charging me $500? I'm like, well, I have a shop, I have technicians, I have overhead. This is why I'm charging you $500. We agreed upon this price. You were perfectly fine with it. Why are you changing your mind today? Well, I read on the internet, you're just trying to screw me and blah, blah, blah. And so I literally started pushing customers' cars out into the road because I didn't want to deal with the BS. You know what? You can get it cheaper somewhere else. No problem. You go ahead and go. And 9 times out of 10, they always come back. And I always told them, if you bring it back, I'm going to charge you more. It's going to be a 20%, I called it asshole fee, and I would charge them whatever it did, top book, just because I knew if they came back, I would get all my money out of them. This is probably the major reason why a lot of techs don't want to deal with it, because what happens is the customers will come complain to the owners, and then the owners will go to complain to the techs, and the techs get upset because they think they're getting, yelled at, that they did something wrong, and so they wind up leaving. And all the techs that actually go out and open up their own shop, this is what they deal with. And that's going to bring us to the number one reason why you cannot find good techs, is because whatever good technician is out there, I hate to say it, they're actually going to open up their own store. Every quality tech that I've ever had since 2000 has left me and opened up their own shop. This is part of the inevitability of what's going to happen. If you're a good quality guy, you're going to figure out how to make money by yourself. You don't need somebody like me or anybody else. You're going to do your own thing. Now, I created a good system where I could basically either bring these guys back, and I told them, if you leave on good terms, you're always welcome back. Some of these guys are not business owners, are good business owners, so they would fail and they would come back. Some would ask for help and stuff like that, and I'd try to do what I could. But then I would tell them, could you do me a favor? If you think you're going to leave, 6 months, let's hire a young guy, have him be your apprentice, and we're going to train him. And we're going to make sure that the pipeline is always full of good quality techs, so we don't ever run low at my dealership. And we never had a problem. Everybody you talk to, every dealer, automotive shop, you guys can comment down below if you guys want, always having a problem with finding a good tech. I had 0 problems because I was always out scouting talent. I would find good guys, I would train them, I'd bring them back. If they were going to leave, I made a deal with them. I'll help you out, I'll set up your business, I'll do whatever I can to make you successful. Just help me, get a new guy that can train, so this way I don't get burnt. Now, unfortunately, most shop owners are not like that. They're going to be upset that you're leaving them. They're going to see you as competition, but there's more than enough cake out there for everybody to eat. I don't know why people get upset. And you always want to keep a good rapport with a good tech, because you never know. Like I said, I've had 2 or 3 techs that open up their own shops. I hate to say it, they were great techs, shitty business owners. They collapsed within 6 months and they came back. But that's just part of the gig. So, instead of basically being rude and being kind of spiteful, be somewhat of a help. See if you can help them, and then if something goes wrong, they come back. Another thing I did to keep quality techs was, after 6 p.m., they were allowed to do whatever they wanted for side money. Now, this is something that 99% of shop owners won't do. And if you're a technician, chime in the comment section, because I want to see if anybody else does this. But I would let my mechanics do side work after 6 p.m. So as long as all my shit was done from 6:30 below, they could work on after hours to make some extra money, maybe doing some family friends breaks, maybe working on a hobby car, whatever the case may be. I gave each tech a parking spot for the day, so this way they had a car that could be sitting out there. Once they were done with work, they could work on it. And it worked out great. They got extra money, they were happy, they had access to tools, they had everything they needed. And so this way I didn't have the massive turnover. But 90% of the people told me that, they would get yelled at when the other shop owners would, when they would bring in their own personal cars or their wife's cars to do the brakes. I remember one of my techs, one of the nicest guys, his name's Larry. Shout out if you're watching this, Larry. He told me that his last boss would literally charge him $75 to park his wife's car in there to do the brakes. He was charging him for the shop use and for the lift. I almost died laughing. I was like, what a jerk. This is something, like I said, that as a technician, if this is my life, I'm going to be yelled at, constantly nickeled and dimed, and basically just chasing the rabbit 24/7. There's no point in being a technician. And then on top of that, the people that you deal with in our industry are not the nicest people. So I don't blame a lot of technicians for running away, because it's just an absolutely horrible business. Now, with all that being said, I still think that the automotive industry is promising. And if you can get in and find a good shop, I think you could do something well. Now, I don't recommend going to school. I know people are going to be good against this, but I would recommend you going and interning at a small shop, work on the weekends for free, sweep the floors, learn how to take out an alternator. Once you know a little bit and you got some few basic hand tools, start working maybe, as $10 an hour, minimum wage, whatever it is. I know it's down, but just do it, because I promise you, if you build a little bit of skill and you learn how to work on all the cars, because that's what you get at an independent shop. You don't work at one, you work at all. but within 2 years, you could be making some serious money. Now, back in the day, technicians used to make a lot of money because of the flag rate, but I feel like most shop owners, once techs get too good, they always try to find ways to back out. So as a tech, if you're watching this, always make sure that you have a house with a garage or some sort of place where you could work on stuff on the side. So at any time, if for some reason your shop owner decides to be an asshole or doesn't want to work with you, you have a spot where you can make your own money. And if you do this right and you flip cars on the side or you fix cars on the side, you get a mobile mechanic license, you get your tax ID number, you start building accounts at AutoZone, O'Reilly's, Napa, all that stuff. Get all these things set up so this way, if you do leave, you don't have to quit the automotive industry and go do some other business. Maybe start on the side, start flipping cars, start getting into doing mobile mechanics, then open up your own shop. You know, don't leave, because I'm telling you, there is still so much money left here, because I'm actually looking at opening up a few repair shops in a few areas. I'm talking to one of these franchise companies, and you know, it's one of those things where I'd like to build something where we can help people get their cars fixed in multiple states. And I hate to say it, there's a lot of companies like Goodyear and Firestone used to do that. Now they don't pay, I think the most they pay their techs is like $25 an hour. So even their master techs are getting 25, and everybody's leaving because just about every other place, like I think Wendy's and McDonald's, are paying $22 an hour. So you can't pay techs that anymore. You have to pay them some serious money. Anyways, I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching. I apologize, I'm here on vacation. I'm driving back to Vegas right now, but I wanted to drop this video because it means a lot to me, because I know techs are basically struggling right now. They're either upset at their owners or they're leaving the industry at a rapid pace. Please don't give up. Open up your own shop. Train the other guys the way you want to be treated, and I think this will work out in the long run. But if you're thinking about getting in the automotive industry, make sure you take your time, talk to other techs, and see if you can find a good local shop that will help you start your journey. Anyways, thanks again, and we'll see you next week.